So, July 1979, I was 17 years old, and enlisted in the military, the U.S. Navy. Went to boot camp as I wanted to be a lithographer, as that's what I was doing, following my father's footsteps. I was doing all the camera work and all the opaque work, making plates and setting printing presses up, and that was my desire at the time. So I signed up to be a U.S. Navy lithographer. Lo and behold, went into boot camp. Halfway through boot camp, I was pulled aside and said that I can no longer be enrolled in that program as a lithographer, and because I'm not a U.S. citizen, because I was born in England and I was a resident alien with alien status and able to enlist in the Navy, but I could not be a lithographer because I might be working on top secret or secret projects. So the choice was the engineering trade, and I had three choices. One was an engineman, the other was a machinist mate, and the other was a boiler technician. And I asked what they were, and they said an engineman was, working on small engines, and I figured, okay, that's kind of cool. I messed around with mini bikes, motorcycles, go-karts, that type of stuff, so that was cool. I figured, okay, maybe that. And then machinist mate was working on, big propulsion engines, which didn't know much about it, but it sounded enticing. And then I asked what a boiler tech was, and they said it's like a big coffee pot on board a ship. So I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't interest me. So I said, I'd like to be an engineman. Can't be an engineman. I'd like to be a machinist mate. Can't be a machinist mate, but we'd like you to be a boiler technician. So that's when I found out I was going to be a boiler technician, and being young and naive like I was, I didn't have the wherewithal to say no. But fortunately, for me, later in life, the engineering trade proved out to be very, very, very good and lucrative for me, because if I had gone the lithographer route, I wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have a career, because it's all done with little handheld computers now. So I proceeded to go to the boiler technician A school and so forth, and finally got my first duty station out of Hawaii. Wonderful duty on board a repair ship, and my job was to repair other ships' boilers as they break down, retube them, clean the condensers, rebuild fireboxes, things of that nature. So I did that on 2 repair ships that were stationed out of Hawaii. And all the while doing that, I kind of took to the guys that were doing the AC&R work, and that kind of intrigued me. So that's kind of where my interest in AC and air conditioning refrigeration took place. So I started to hang out with those guys too, as well as my regular job. So that was my first enlistment out of Hawaii, repairing other ships off of our ship. We'd go out to sea. We'd find other ships in different ports and repair their problems. Got out for a little while, thinking I could find something better in civilian life, but very quickly re-enlisted within a couple of months. And another interesting story I didn't tell Dalton was, when I re-enlisted, I said I don't care where I go or what I go on, I just don't want to go on what we call a bird farm. And a bird farm is an aircraft carrier. So as I was training new recruits coming in and waiting for orders out of San Diego, my first set of orders came through to report to the USS Kitty Hawk, which was an aircraft carrier. I said, I don't want an aircraft carrier. Now, you got 3 choices when you get your orders. That was my first choice I turned down. Another month goes by, and here I am getting my second set of orders, and it was the USS Independence. It was the Kitty Hawk's sister ship, another aircraft carrier. And I told my, I forget what you call the guy, but the designator, that's what you call them. They place you when you re-enlist. And I called him up and I talked to him. I says, look, I told you I don't want bird farms. And he said, well, if I give you another choice, you may not like that choice either, so you might want to take this one. So I did take the bird farm, the USS Independence, which was my last ship that I served on for just under 3 years. And that was interesting. My first job was working on the steam catapults that launched the planes off the ship. And my job was to get the steam from the boiler room, have it enter a big receiving tank that was then controlled by a launch valve that would actually launch the catapult down the catapult chute and shoot the planes off the deck. So it was kind of interesting, but kind of scary all at the same time. I understand why they get hazard pay on the flight deck now. If you can imagine flight operations or walking around an airport as planes were flying and landing and taking off and turning and maneuvering. It was kind of scary. But did that for about a year on the ship, and then I was sent down to the boiler room and did boiler work, provide steam propulsion. So I got out of the Navy. I spent 8 years altogether. So 1979. I got out of the Navy in 1987. Short of getting out of the Navy, they had wanted me to go to officer booth school to become an officer, and one of the requirements was I had to be a citizen, so they granted me, they waived all of my classes and requirements for becoming a U.S. citizen, and they provided me the opportunity to be naturalized on the USS Constitution 200th anniversary on the USS Constitution, which was the old Ironsides. That's still, I think it's the oldest active duty U.S. warship, and that was on September 17th, 1987. So I became a U.S. citizen on the USS Constitution on the 200th anniversary of the USS Constitution, which is pretty cool. But I ended up getting out because my next duty station was going to be overseas, and I didn't want to go overseas to be stationed overseas. That's my brief enlistment history.